and then have at it. Front row first.
Yes. Hello.
Yeah, raise that up a little bit.
Hello. Testing. One, two.
Perfect. Sounds good.
All right. Hello.
Nice.
Still bending over a little bit. All right.
That's close.
I am Alec Router, ALECRUITER, and I'm from 635 Hillsborough Road. First of all, I wanted to thank you for having me here today. I'm a student from Hillsborough High School. I'm a peer mentor, and I'm the co-founder of the group called the Student Diversity Initiative back in 2020. I recently had the honor to attend American Legion Jersey Boys State. I recently had the honor where I basically learned the importance of being authentic and how to participate effectively in local government. For this, I just wanted to share my thanks for hearing me here today. Now I'd like to take you back to January 2020. In this very room on January 28th, the proclamation on the National Day of Racial Healing was passed. A passage from this proclamation states, "Whereas we understand and recognize that there is a racial divide in our country, and we must all work earnestly to heal the wounds created by racial, ethnic, and religious bias, and to build an equitable and just society so that all children can thrive." Since then, there have been many developments. In honor of this, the Student Diversity Initiative was created. In partnership with the school and student council, we hosted numerous events and gave a chance for students to have a voice in school administration, and now here today. What we've learned is promoting diversity and unity promotes both mental health and increases the passion for students to learn. I'd like to present to you two quotes from fellow high school students. "Over the past 3 years, I've seen a significant growth within the high school. The Student Diversity Initiative, the Multicultural Festival, and the Black Experience, a closer look on Black History Month, and the Activism Club are perfect examples of this. When I hear of discrimination or racist remarks, I find it typical for Hillsborough. Things need to improve, but in all honesty, Hillsborough High School students are not hopeful." Quote 2, Everything changed when COVID-19 happened. People couldn't stop looking at their screens and seeing what was happening. No one could deny the impact George Floyd's death impacted the entire world. This inspired groups like Student Diversity Initiative and the Activism Club within Hillsborough High School. Numerous events since then have made towards diversity across Hillsborough, and it's time for our local government to embrace that. With these quotes and acknowledgments and acknowledging the declaration, I wanted to ask the Township Committee to seriously consider how to raise more awareness regarding ending racism and addressing issues in our community. If the leadership of our town became examples to this change, if the leaders of our town became examples of others, so much can change. I and the groups I discussed are now part of One Hillsborough, an organization that hopes to work with you in the future to build this with our town. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
Good evening, Reverend Rod Williams, 101 Everett Close, and I will need a fourth minute, but I just want to give you a heads up to the Township Committee members, Mayor Lapani and Town Administrator Farrar, friends and fellow citizens here, both here and in person, that are looking on virtual. Hillsborough has been my home for 31 years, and I've witnessed quite a number of changes, many of them for the betterment of all, and some for the betterment of a few. Many, and I'm sure it's the same observation for everyone who's resided here for any length of time. Town has prided itself as a safe haven for its citizens, and much of the population growth that has occurred according to the 2020 census has been a direct result of being recognized as the 41st safest city in New Jersey by SafeWise, and also being given an A+ grade by the group crimegrade.org. Over the past year, in the aftermath of the peak of the COVID pandemic and the George Floyd and Breonna Taylor murders at the hands of law enforcement, the nation has become more sensitized to the issues of fairness, equality, and social justice for the underrepresented communities, and certainly Hillsborough is no different than the rest of the country in that regard. Yet I've been greatly dismayed and distressed by the fact that in the past year, our little town of 40,000 residents has been the site of 2 people of color with emotional challenges being killed by our police, and by a couple of our fellow citizens facing over 2 years of continuing harassment, and racial animus that even after 2 meetings with our mayor and our town administrator and our police chief and his senior officers has yet to be properly addressed. And by addressed, I mean having our local justice system curb this wantonly abusive and racist behavior. To the contrary, our fellow citizens have continued to receive nothing more than lip service at best and the runaround at worst, while attempting to live peacefully, which is the right of every citizen in this town, and which our police force is sworn to uphold and protect, while you as our elected officials are also charged with ensuring that they carry out this fundamental responsibility. So this day I stand before you as one Hillsborough, announcing a new and growing coalition of groups like the Student Diversity Initiative, Not in Our Town Hillsborough, Borough Safe, HMS Care, Safe and Sound, Community Conversations, Our Revolution Hillsborough, and the Hillsborough Black Parents Coalition, who've joined together to advocate for those who are often overlooked and underserved because, as the old adage goes, if my brother or sister's in trouble, then so am I. And we've all heard the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, who said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And so I implore you today to do your duty as the people of conscience and remember that justice is the firm and continuous desire to render to everyone that which is his due. Because we will no longer sit idly by while our brother and sister are suffering this indignity and our taxpayer dollars fail to demand that this mistreatment, not only at the hands of their neighbors, continues, but they're also being victimized by an unjust response from our police force. We're calling on you to do the right thing and put a stop to it immediately. But we also admonish you that the reputation of this town is at stake. And we're more than prepared to share with the world that until this situation and the matter of the 2 police shootings are resolved, we're going to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. We've seen the new internal affairs dashboard that has been launched by the State Attorney General's office, and it contains the following information about our police department that may supply some of the data that Town Administrator Farrar asked us for. That in spite of what I just shared with you, Hillsborough had no major discipline cases at all for the period during which the data was collected for 2021. There were also no internal affairs investigations that resulted in more than a reprimand or a performance note. That means no suspensions, no demotions, no terminations, and 90% of the internal affairs investigations were generated by civilian complaints, and with 21 active investigations and 20 closed. We would hate to think that the reason our 2 fellow citizens cannot receive the proper remedy for their situation is part and parcel of system failures, but these 2 people have on numerous occasions seen both a reluctance to take their victimization seriously, but also the perpetrator has stated on many of those same occasions that nothing will be done because of his relationship with the mayor and the police force. The Attorney General will be tracking this and we'll be working with them to ensure thoroughness, accuracy, completeness, and transparency of reporting. And finally, to my Christian friends in this town, you know the words of Jesus that say, when you mistreat the least of those in society, the marginalized, the underserved, and the underrepresented, he said, you're doing the same to me. So we invite all of you and anyone else who believes in justice, fairness, diversity, equality, equity, inclusion, and belonging to join us in the quest to make Hillsborough live up to the claim of one of the safest places around for all people, regardless of the differences that should make us more appreciative of each other and not less. One Hillsborough is committed to seeing that this town lives up to its claim as one of the safest places to live in America. Thank you.
Next.
Hello, I am Susan Spagnola, Spagnola, and I live at 782 Riverside Drive. I am here for one Hillsborough. My family has lived in Hillsborough for 48 years. I live in a historic home that was built in the 1700s. Our 2 daughters went to Hillsborough Township Public Schools. I have served on and continue to serve on many local nonprofit boards. I'm a docent at Duke Farms. I'm also on the board of Safe and Sound Somerset, an organization which you honored this evening, and we appreciate it very, very much. It's very well deserved. It's an amazing organization. This is to say that I am invested in, I care deeply about our community, and one that I have seen evolve over the years from sort of a sleepy, homogeneous town into the increasingly diverse, vibrant one it is today. I believe that diversity presents opportunity rather than something to be feared. But sadly, I have seen too many who fear it rather than welcome it. I hear words extolling the virtues of equity and inclusion, but have not seen sufficient tools or processes to support those virtues. I have joined One Hillsborough to recognize and support our oneness. I hope that through our efforts, we can help Hillsborough become not just better, but the best that it can be for all of its residents, not just good, but great. To do that requires us to listen deeply to those with whom we may disagree or who are different than we are in any way. We cannot rest on our laurels, but we must recognize our shortcomings, acknowledge them, and find thoughtful ways to address them. One Hillsborough is a vehicle to enable us to do that. Our country is beset by othering. Let Hillsborough be different. Let's be a town that shows other communities how to honor and respect all differences and leverage those differences and the talents of all of us to create a community where we're all seen and heard and the full potential of each of us is realized. Young or old, persons of color, persons of different ethnicities, faiths, and sexual preferences. Let us be one. Let us be one Hillsborough. Please join us. We need you all. Thank you.
Good evening. Anna Mailer, M-A-H-L-E-R. I'm at 11 Hunt Club Road. I am one Hillsborough. I'm a 30-year resident. I've raised 2 children in this town and have basically lived Hillsborough the good life, if you remember that slogan.
You got time.
I hope so. So you see, I go way back to the previous slogan. As you saw earlier, I'm a longstanding member of Borough Safe. I've worked as a school counselor in the middle school for 25 years. I'm a member of the Hillsborough Millstone Municipal Alliance and Borough Cares, a district-wide community for anti-racist and equitable schools. I am deeply indebted to so many people who helped me, a white, straight woman, learn how I can help create more equity for all. I have been humbled over and over in deep conversations with colleagues, students, and community members, and especially by people of color. I've learned that we white people do not know everything and are especially blind when it comes to what living as a white person is like. I've learned that we must actively seek out the voices, the experiences, and the expertise of Black, Indigenous, Latinx, Asian, and all other peoples of color, so that we co-create a community where everyone belongs. We must also listen to the voices of other marginalized people, like the LGBTQ+ community and people with disabilities. We cannot know whether our community welcomes people with these identities unless we ask and listen. Conversations are humbling, enlightening, and necessary, but they are not sufficient for true change. Real change happens when policies change and when we see people included in a meaningful way. As the people with power in our community, it is your responsibility to actively seek the participation and representation of non-white members of the community by opening doors, meetings, committees, and hiring practices to represent and include the full range of humanity, all voices, all perspectives, all experiences, not overwhelmingly white ones. Earlier this evening, you proclaimed the Township support for suicide prevention and the mental health and wellness of our residents. As we know, mental health and equity go hand in hand. My request is for a specific action that embodies this proclamation, which is to create a commission of diverse community members to examine policies and practices and ensure that all residents are represented and treated equitably. I invite you to work with the members of One Hillsborough so that everyone in our town can enjoy Hillsborough, the good life. Thank you.
Hi, Jane Statz, 101 Devonshire Court. I'm also a member of One Hillsborough. Coincidentally, I'm wearing a shirt that says Hillsborough is one. I got this about 15, 20 years ago when I was a teacher at Hillsborough High School. I think it was a part of a fundraiser for a student club. As you can see on the front, it says Hillsborough is one. And on the back, it says, what do you guys Bill. It says, out of many, one. Then there's a list of many different identities, and some are missing. So it ends with, and everyone else. And then at the end, it says, for unity against hatred and bias. Alex spoke about the proclamation for the National Day of Racial Healing from January 2020. On June 9th, 2020, the Township Committee supported a resolution condemning all acts of racism and bigotry in our community. That resolution stated that, quote, Hillsborough Township recommits to working on ways in which we can engage our communities to address and uproot institutionalized racism and implicit bias and offer spaces for dialogue, trainings, and understanding. I applaud these examples of the Township Committee's words of support and commitment to address racism and bias. So based on this shirt, the Township Committee's resolution and proclamation, the actions of Hillsborough students, and One Hillsborough's entreaties, we all agree that actions such as trainings and dialogue are necessary to uproot racism and bias. I've been a resident of Hillsborough for 36 years. I like to think of Hillsborough as a family, as I've heard many township leaders say as well. Mayor Lapani, I've heard you say that, and in a very sincere way, very believable. So as a family, we watch out for each other. Regardless of how well things are going for any of us as individuals in Hillsborough, we also want things to go well for everyone in our Hillsborough family. When one of us is hurting, then the Hillsborough family is hurting. We want everyone to feel represented. We want everyone to feel safe. We want everyone to feel heard. And the good news is diversity is a gift for all of us. Diversity of population, cultures, opinions, and experiences enriches all of us. As we make efforts to become a more inclusive community, we all become better, more empathetic, and more complete human beings. I look forward to the Township Committee following through on its commitment with specific actions. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Lapani and members of the Township Committee. My name is Joyce Eldridge Howard, and I am a member of One Hillsborough. I have been a resident of Hillsborough for 15 years, and throughout those years, I've been involved in numerous organizations with fulfilling and throughout these years, I've been involved in numerous organizations along with fulfilling an unexpired term in Hillsborough for the Hillsborough Board of Education. I served on the library board, and I'm presently vice president of my community board. I know the importance of serving on diverse boards and having a voice. Diversity, inclusion, and knowledgeable input strengthens the very fiber of a community. I've watched the Township Committee meetings. In fact, I'd watch more when there was a person of color on the Township Committee. I think of a person who served an unexpired term recently. I thought the committee would respect the input of a person who did not look like them, and especially because the suggestion was for the greater good of the town. Instead, his recommendation was dismissed. He made the recommendation to form a diversity committee, and it was stated that a diversity committee was already in place. After doing some research, I concluded then that there was not an acceptance of ideas and initiatives outside of the closed circle of thought. Yes, the people of Hillsborough do vote for the candidates, but does it mean that citizens should not foster feelings of inclusion, diversity, and an appreciation of talent? Several years ago, Hillsborough had been named one of New Jersey's best places to live. I see on the sign it says one of the best places in America. That surprises me because it is my understanding that a couple who are of color are harassed consistently by their next door neighbors. Is it the best place to live when township committees do not have a cross-section of citizens serving on the board? Hillsborough is a diverse community. Where is the representation? Thank you.
Hello, Cindy Assini, 7 Ski Drive, ASSINI. I have been fortunate to be a resident here for 10 years. I appreciate your service as public officials, and I know that it's time away from your families and all of your other responsibilities. And I come here tonight to share that there have been many people who have trusted me with their stories, young and old. During the pandemic, we ran a dialogue group, and I hope that we will be running another dialogue group that all of you may consider participating in. And hearing those stories, one of the themes that came out to me was that there are people in our town who want to feel more included. When they walk around the halls of this building, they want to see people who look like them, and they want to see those people who look like them and have similar life experiences on our committees. Having a diversity and inclusion committee, like other nearby towns do, I think would do a lot to help people feel included here. So as you're probably aware, both Montgomery and Princeton have diversity and inclusion committees. Bridgewater has a pilot program to bring social work into their police force. And I'd really like to see us invest some time and energy into those types of initiatives here. I am proud to live here. I moved here because of the diversity in our community. And I think that this community has so much potential to grow in a positive way. I have kids at the elementary level, and I really want to continue in this community and see us all come together to help everyone feel like they belong. So I hope that you'll consider these requests. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nishat Router, 635 Hillsborough Road, Hillsborough, New Jersey. Thank you so much for letting us speak today. It was really moving to hear the different acknowledgements and the proclamations that you had spoken to earlier today. And I know you've heard a lot about this idea of One Hillsborough, and I just wanted to mention a couple of notes about what that is. It is open to all residents of Hillsborough, including students and teachers and administration, anyone who cares about bringing a change towards the better here. And the only requirements is that people are kind, respectful, open to diversity, acknowledge that we're all connected, that we're spiritually all part of some connectedness together, and that we want to make a forum in which we can have conversations in a meaningful way. So one of our first orders of business is actually having an event October 15th. We would like to invite each of you on the Township Committee and the lawyer, Bill, and I've spoken to you before on library board matters. I don't know if you remember, but we had a good conversation to invite you to our home, the Router's home, for a screening of a movie called Me the Other. It's a beautiful directed movie of about 15 students who go to Michigan College and who talk about what it's like to be othered. It's about bias, it's about dealing with prejudice, and it's a really amazing film. It's won awards. It was screened last year at our home, and we had about 16 Hillsborough residents attend, and each of them felt, and we had conversations through till midnight, each of them felt that they understood people more from every type of background. And we would just really be honored to have each of you come and then just talk about it with us, about what this is, how do we get closer together, and how do we really build social fabric in our town that's more meaningful. So thank you so much for listening.
Good evening. My name is Norman Kauser, and I reside at 7.
Norman, can you raise the mic up because you're a little taller? There you go. Otherwise, other people aren't going to hear you in TV land.
Sure, no problem. Just want to give my 3 minutes.
It's all right. You got the 3 minutes.
I think 3 hours is there.
You ready?
You got lots of time.
All right, we'll continue on.
Go ahead, Norman.
Appreciate everybody, everything they've said. And also recognizing all your proclamations, so we're all good. Missing in action, POW.
Move a little closer to the mic, sir, please.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You know, the
Yeah,
domestic, the
you're like a
violence.
rock star. Got to get close. You got low.
Can you hear me?
There you go. You got 3 minutes. Go ahead.
All right, here we go. My name is Norman Kauser, and I reside at 710 Robin Road with my girlfriend, Alicia Williams. I've been living here for 32 plus years. However, over the last 2 years, we've encountered harassment and racial intimidation from our neighbors. First time it happened with my neighbor's father, the husband, the mother, and sons. They were speaking ignorantly to my girlfriend and arguing about a parking space, which were our parking space, and she just happened to tell them they were wrong. Second time, they were throwing garbage and spitting on our yard and our front steps and our porch, and also letting your dog defecate on our lawn. Then next thing, they were punching my tires in my truck. They also put soap in my gas tank, and they also called my girlfriend a lot of derogatory names. They end up throwing eggs on my car as well as my truck on 2 different occasions. They prevent us from opening our car doors or getting in our car when we park. And they egg my deck at my house, excuse me. And they also continue to call my girl different names as well as the N-word. As a result of these constant harassments, we had to file reports with the local police department. As a result, we went to court and a mediation hearing was held. And as a result, terms and conditions were established in the agreement, and we were not to talk to each other. However, all along the way, we have done what the mediation agreement has stipulated, but the harassment continues, has not stopped. It has escalated now to the point where my girlfriend feels threatened, as well as I, that the husband, son, and or family may do bodily harm or physical harm to her or I or our property. Throughout the whole ordeal, we have taken taken several courses of action. We reported it to the local police and provided evidence as well as videos and spoken to them. We met with the police chief as well as the mayor. However, things have not stopped. As a result, the community has gotten involved with the leadership of Reverend Williams and the Hillsborough One organization. What we're seeking is to be left alone and our property undamaged and our lives not threatened or harassed. We like to have the basic quality of life that Hillsborough articulates and promotes. We're asking for the state attorney general possibly to get involved, the county prosecutor, the Somerset sheriff, and perhaps as well as the local police, as well as the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement, NOBLE, to get involved to help de-escalate this situation, to prevent any potential violence to me or my girlfriend or anyone else in our community. As I said, it's been going on. I've been here 33 years, and I didn't really have any of these problems in the first 30 years. Had a great time here, etc. But this thing has gotten out of hand. It's not stopping no matter how much we come and speak with you and ask you for your help and support. So now we've seen that maybe it needs to be escalated and get some additional support to help us accomplish this. You agree with this? All right. But thank you for listening to us. God bless you and keep you. Love the proclamations, but hopefully you have a proclamation for the One Hillsborough, for what she has brought to the table in her mission statement, things of that sort, and to help us in our situation.
Anyone else? Maria?
Maria Janusik, 720 East Freck Avenue, Manville, New Jersey. I'm also a Hillsborough Township property owner, Block 86, Lot 3, 2155 Camp Road. I obtained a copy of the zoning analysis for the CDZ Corporate Development Zone and the 05 Office Research District that's dated May 2, 2022. That was prepared by David Maskey, the Hillsborough Township Planning Director. And in this report, it states that the Corporate Development Zone, District South, is dominated by the 434-acre Mindell Tract, which is owned by Hillsborough Township. What I wanted to find out is when the actual purchase took place. Was it at the end of last year or the beginning of this year? Because I spoke with Nancy Costa when the budget was being discussed, and I asked her if there was anything in the budget regarding payments for this property. So it's already in this report, and it plays a significant role in this report. And it says here also that I believe the zone is going to be changed. There's comment here about replacing the CDZ and the 05 district with a new LC light commercial zone. And then it says the only permitted conditional use would be multifamily housing that consists of 100% affordable housing units. This option would be limited to land currently owned by the township. So this sounds very similar to what occurred with the Sherman Tract, where the governing body bought that property, Block 86, Lot 21, and it's 100% rental, affordable housing rental. And now it looks like this may be happening here too. But when was this property purchased? How was it paid for? Because I think it was quite a chunk of money, about $14 million.
Ms. Janusik, this question you've asked probably 4 times and has been answered. It was paid by a bond. Went out to bond, and it was about $13.5 million. It was done through the open bid process, and I believe it closed, if it wasn't the very end of last year, it was the beginning of this year.
That's my recollection, Mayor. It was either the end of last year or the beginning of this year.
Yes.
But I can get the exact date.
Yeah, but that's
Mayor
sensitive.
Lapani, I did not ask about this, okay? This is the
Oh, yes, you
Mindell
have.
tract.
Oh, yes, you
okay?
have. I'm at the
And-
planning
and-
board meetings when you ask it, and I've been here, you ask it,
No.
and you've asked it over several times.
No,
But
have
so
not
I answered
asked
again.
about the
It was
Mindell
at the end of
tract.
December
And this
and beginning of
also, I
November.
believe, is going to be part of an ordinance that was introduced.
But that
once
wasn't the
before
question
and
that
is
you
being-
asked.
Being reintroduced. And if I did ask one time, you
More
spend
than
more
once.
time telling me that I have asked questions than just answering the question. So
Well, the
exactly-
reason we do that,
I'm
Ms.
sorry,
Janusik,
the
is you're
attorney
taking up
said,
people's
when was
time
this
on questions
purchased,
that have been
last
asked
year
before.
or this year?
It was somewhere between middle of December and the middle of January, somewhere in that frame, off the top of my head. I don't remember
And
exact
it was
date.
and it was purchased through bonds?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none. Any? Okay, come on up.
My name is Alicia Williams. I reside at
Can you just
710
pull the mic a little closer to you?
There you go.
Okay. My name is Alicia Williams. I'm a part of One Hillsborough. I reside at 710 Robin Road. And so, as Norman was expressing, I have been experiencing tremendous harassment from our neighbor. If it's not the dog, it's the husband. And now the son is in law enforcement. He called me the F word, so now I have to contend with that, making a complaint with internal affairs. I find that anytime I make a police report, it has a tendency to be very biased. So if they come and they talk to him about a matter, they won't come back and address it to me. So therefore, if there's any reports actually given to other agencies, they don't have the full totality of my experience. I have been harassed and it's been very emotional for me. We have done everything that the police have asked us to do. Conveniently, police reports are not even conveyed properly, ever. And it's become very problematic. If anything, it's enabling a situation that's extremely dangerous for us. And no one is really hearing us. So I just encourage anyone who's going through any type of situation for that, if you are a victim of anything, you have to speak out, even against the powers that be that allow that situation. Because right now, when something was actually sent to the Somerset County Department, the police department told me they sent it to them in a letter. Go up to Somerset County, find out they didn't send it at all. These other 2 incidents that occurred, they didn't even advise me about what's going on. Haven't followed up with anything. Even though we met with you 2 times, Mayor, nothing has really actually happened. So we're seeking some help for something happening because we're put in a really dangerous situation. And that's the end of what I have to say.
Mayor, how you doing? Chief McMahon. I just want to address the fact that, while I sympathize with the neighbor dispute that's going on there, the police department has taken every action to investigate every complaint to its fullest. Every complaint that the officer investigates is on body camera. Everything is fully recorded, and everything has been sent to the prosecutor's office, which they've reviewed as well. And I'm aware that they've contacted the complainant this week and advisor of everything those investigations revealed and what their findings were. So if there's any further questions, she can contact them. I can provide her with the number. The Attorney General's office has reviewed everything, is involved in it as well with the prosecutor's office. But it would be untrue to say that the police department hasn't done everything that we can possibly do in this circumstance for her. Thanks.
Pardon me.
No.
Reverend Rod Williams, 101 Everett Close.
Mr. Williams, we're not going to get in a back and forth
But no,
now.
I just want to make one correction to what, we were in a meeting with you,
Mhm.
and you heard the police actually tell us they're not allowed to take sides in situations.
They
So
didn't.
what that means to us is that if they believe everything is equally right and equally wrong. And so we disagree wholeheartedly that when there is wrong being done, that someone needs to take a side, and that's what our tax dollars should be paying for.
And Mayor, as a legal matter, that will be the Somerset County Prosecutor's Office,
So
not the municipality.
it is not the municipalities, not the, it's in the hands of the Somerset